I'll be honest with you, I'm not fully on board with flat Earth yet.
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
I was violently opposed to it. I was mad at people that would bring it up.
Right.
And that's normal. Everybody that's into flat Earth, it was very hard for them to get into it and admit it. It took like a year and a half for them to admit it.
Well, first it was just black dudes, basically. I feel like they were into it at first.
Yeah, I wasn't
like
into.
that.
I was violently opposed to it. But the one thing about flat Earth, you punch in flat Earth on YouTube, you're going to get all the debunkers. And like, why is there so many people working against it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're doing the exact same thing to flat Earth that they do to 9/11, JFK, Iran Contra. They got people producing debunking videos.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that if it's so stupid?
It's so
Why?
stupid.
And you should ask yourself, why is there a debate about it? How is there a debate still in this time with the internet? Why are people, there's so many people that are afraid to admit that they're looking into flat Earth because of the amount of ridicule you get. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was quiet about it, but I was against it. I was trying to, people kept coming up to me, have you looked into flat Earth? I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you're crazy.
This is like a couple years ago. I'm like, shut the fuck. Joe, I was on Joe's podcast and he would bring it up. He goes, dude, people are so dumb. There's some people out there still believe the Earth is flat. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are they really? There's people like that? And this was just a few years ago.
And now you're
I kept trying to debunk it. Like I would get in arguments with people, and that's the typical story. Everyone's trying to debunk it. And then the one thing that made me realize something was wrong is I always believed that the moon landings were faked. And that's what I thought NASA was. I thought NASA was in charge of the moon missions. I didn't think they were in charge of all space information. I thought there was all these scientists everywhere and they're figuring out, shit about the universe. And once I was looking into it, and I realized, oh shit, all these pictures of Earth from space, they're all CGI composites. And NASA admits it. They go, oh, you know what? We take the images and we take this information strips and then we get an artist to put together. I'm like, wait a minute. You guys aren't even getting real pictures of the fucking Earth from space? I go, I had the picture of Earth
where's
from
the
space.
bootlegs?
Yeah.
Where's them fucking space bootlegs?
And you get the Earth on your iPhone. That's the default. The default picture. I go, I had looked at Earth every day on my iPhone. I see that. I go, how are you going to tell me the Earth's flat? I see it. So the guy said, he goes, I got a master's in engineering. Look into it. And so I did, and I realized, damn. Then I started tracing these pictures back to NASA. Then I realized, wait a minute, NASA is controlling all our space information? I go, NASA does that? I thought they just did the moon and the space shuttle.
Yeah. And NASA's gutter, dude. They've been around for 60 years. They've been to the moon allegedly 4 times.
No, 6 times.
6 times.
Yeah, 6 times.
And then they destroyed all the technology? Yeah. Come on, man.
Dude, that's the worst. Man. If that was a business, you'd be like, this
Come on,
is
man. You guys, you know what? They had to say they destroyed it. What are they going to say?
Yeah, what else are they going to say?
What are they going to let people... they destroyed all the video, the raw video footage, the raw audio footage, all the telemetry data, which tracked where they were in space. All that's gone.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Guys, today we're going to be talking about the Earth. Once again, a lot of people want to know the real format, the real shape of Earth. And I guess the reason that they want to know this is they want to really know why NASA lied all along. Now, if you don't know about this, folks, there's a really big chance that those videos you saw in 1969 or whatever, there are more videos. They did it again. There's a chance, folks, that the videos we've seen in the 60s and 70s from manned missions on the moon, it seems they're all fake.
Or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance, in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the radiation belt.
Now, not only that, right now, folks, they do not have the technology to do it again. We're now in 2018, not 1960s, 2018, and we do not have the technology to go to the moon anymore, according to them.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Who went to the moon, theoretically, of course, in the 1960s and 70s. Now, what really bugs me is the poor excuses that they give, that they lost the technology to, and if they were to do it again, it'd take a lot of time, money, and all that. Despite all of this, they're going to Mars. So it rings the, if anyone here is a bit conspiratory, it rings the bell. It's a lie. How could you lose the technology to go to the moon, but you can go to Mars? Right? How is that possible? How is it so that you cannot go to the moon right now? It would take years for you to do it again, but you're going to Mars. How is that so? Right? And how do you lose the technology to go to the moon? That's the first question. You know, this is the first. So in general, folks, they lied. The big question is why? So what happened is flat Earth is trending. Why is flat Earth trending? Because it's trending because, folks, they lied. But James, do you believe that the Earth is flat? Not necessarily, folks. I'm an open-minded person, that's for sure. I know they lied. I still want to find out, like you do, why they lied, right? And I've been looking at a lot of information, emails, videos, pictures, and all that for quite a while now. The first person to go up there said so. It's not me saying, oh, I think the Earth is concave. You know why? Because I think so. I've never been out there, folks. So I couldn't tell you if the Earth is round or whatever, you know, but there's a guy called Auguste Piccard. He went out there in the 1930s. And when he came back, after a couple of days actually up there, in a very high altitude balloon, he came back and said that the Earth seemed flat with an upturned edge. Trillions of dollars. We have absolutely nothing out of it yet. They keep changing everything. For example, they went to the moon, and then a couple of years later, they say that there's a Van Allen belt, that we can't trespass the Van Allen belt. So how did we go to the moon, right? So they keep changing things, and then they say that the Earth is perfectly round, and then they say that the Earth is an oblate spheroid. They keep changing things, right? So, I mean, there's something wrong. Of course, there's something wrong. But this time, folks, scientists at a company called the Aquila Research in Brazil are trying to prove that the Earth may not be round. Not just Auguste Piccard saying that if there is a curvature, no one has seen it yet. Maybe astronauts, maybe not. You've probably seen videos where they show astronauts in space with all those water bubbles and stuff. And I've shown you guys in other videos, of course, the ISS and even SpaceX, probably all CGI.
We'd have way better CGI if it was fake. Colors all look kind of weird in space. There's no atmospheric occlusion.
Why, folks, in 2018, are we still having to deal with loss? So here comes this company called the Aquila. They did some serious research in a very different way. So I've been getting emails since I built the channel. When I've been talking about other places, for example, other continents. I don't know if you know this, folks, but I have been researching for quite a long time now. And from my conclusions, and it's not 100%, but from my conclusions, we are enclosed in a ring. This ring is what we call Antarctica.
At any given time, there are around 1,500 aliens on the planet. And most of them are decent enough. They're just trying to make a living.
Well, why the big secret?
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet.
When you cross this ring, which was what Admiral Byrd did, you can find other continents. And you can even see here, let's take a look at what Admiral Byrd has to say when you cross the Antarctic ring. Remember, folks, you can only cross Antarctica in a very small plane if Antarctica isn't a continent. Now let's listen to what Admiral Byrd has to say.
And I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America.
Eagle looking great, your go. We copy you down, Eagle. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Eagle looking great, your go. We copy you down, Eagle. We copy you down, Eagle. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Colors, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're... Roger, copy. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're... Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. We copy you down, Eagle. Gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're... Eagle looking great, your go. We copy you down, Eagle. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, copy. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're gonna go for landing. Retro. Go, I don't go. I go. Control. Go. Falcon, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're... Roger, copy. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, copy. Retro, go. I don't go. Guys, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. GNC, go. Ecom, go. Surgeon, go. Got time for...
Admiral Byrd's crew, when they went several times to Antarctica after Byrd said that there was a continent there. They went several times. There was Operation High Jump, right? And they did fail. There was even a submarine or a ship that got wrecked, very badly wrecked. No one knows by what. So what is outside of Antarctica? What is actually out there, right? These guys from the Aquila research actually did something different, folks. They didn't send a high-altitude balloon. They measured the ocean with lasers. You heard me right. They measured the ocean's curvature with optic lasers. So, like this, I don't know if you know this, you can measure the distortions in the field. You can measure the curvature. You can measure the ocean level in relation to the ground level. So, you know, in general, folks, they did that, and they found out a very bizarre thing. In the documentary that they want to release March 26th in the city of São Paulo, I will be there. The most interesting thing is, I don't know if the Earth is round, I don't know who is lying. The most interesting thing is that they show on this drawing, you can see an extra continent. Now that was intriguing to me because I've been talking about extra continents for quite a while now. And there was no need for them to show an extra continent. So I'm thinking, why did they do this? How do they know? There's a guy, his name is Paul Hellyer. And I appreciate his work. He's been talking about UFOs and aliens for quite a while now. And he is the defense minister for Canada. He's an ex-minister, but he's still there. And he talked about it in the middle of Politicians. He talked about it in many other videos. And he states very clearly that the other aliens that we so much talk about are probably humans. We're not talking about outer space, folks, or aliens, as in aliens. We're probably talking about advanced technology, and we're talking about these guys, aliens, humans that come from other continents. You know, some people call them the fallen angels, fallen ones, right? But I ask myself, our district, Earth, is in the bottom part of this world. Aren't we the fallen ones? Like it says in the Bible. Weren't we expelled from the heavens? Because if it is like a stadium, and Earth is the first stage, then we are in the bottom of this.
The other is that everybody in this room was taught the story of how Columbus went before Queen Isabella of Spain, and he was going to prove to her that the world was round. Do you know what Queen Isabella of Spain, pretty smart woman, I gotta believe, would have said to Christopher Columbus if he laid this line on her? She would look to him and go, Christoffel, Aristotle figured out the world was round 2,000 years ago. This is 1492, the year they invented the globe. So this world is round story is 100% bullshit. It's total fiction. Yet how did our grandparents learn this? We learn this? Our grandchildren are probably going to learn this. How come? Because history is pop culture.
Blanket of stars revolve around Polaris, the North Star above the central North Pole. With time-lapse we can see this, day after day, rolling out the lie of four motions. To find Polaris in the northern sky, just look for Ursa Minor or Ursa Major. From Chicago we look north and we see the stars rotate around Polaris. And from Paris. And from near Japan. This is from southern Spain. The stars complete one cycle, stroke one revolution, every 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds, making them a little faster than the Sun, with the Moon being the slowest of the three. Here is a macro way to present these northern star trails. To get a good idea of the motion of stars, we need to look in different directions. Here is from Arizona, in southern USA, looking west, looking east, looking north, and looking south. There is a ring of 12 star constellations behind the ecliptic, known as the signs of the zodiac. This is the same even if one is in Chicago, North Mexico, southern Chile, or anywhere on Earth. So if one splits the circular 360-degree ecliptic up into 12, one gets 12 times 30 degrees, each being a sign of the zodiac, which all takes 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds to revolve above us. These constellations appear upside down to people in the southern areas of Earth, for the simple reasons shown here. As the stars take 23 hours 56 minutes 4 seconds to revolve, and the Sun takes 24 hours to revolve, every 30 days or so, the Sun enters a new sign of the zodiac, and then will spend around 30 days there until the zodiac has overtaken the Sun again. This can be seen here too, with the zodiac being the outer thin ring of 12 signs. First we will move 2 hours forward a click. Then if we move 10 days forward a click, we see the zodiac speeding ahead, so the Sun therefore travels through the 12 signs of the zodiac over a solar year. Due to us knowing all of the main speeds in the sky now, here is the approximate time each luminary spends within each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. We will come back to the zodiac again soon. Many naturally think, whether under a dome or a flat sky, that all the stars move in unison the same way, but this isn't so. South of the equator, an observer can see a wheel in the sky to the south, spinning in the opposite direction. And here are more examples. So to get our bearings, let's look from one location. New South Wales in Australia. Looking west, looking east, looking north, where Polaris is too far away from the observer's vanishing point, and looking south. So this wheel at the south is interesting for two reasons. One, it creates a fractal if caught on time-lapse photography at different intervals, a bit like this. And two, because at 3 different locations on Earth, the exact same southern wheel can be observed in the sky. Again, this could be under a dome or a flat sky, but having the same 3 wheels in the southern sky is still currently fully unexplained, using the logic we know thus far within this realm. Some say reflective duplication. Some say it is the North Stars refracted, reflected, or warped in some way. Others say perspective, but super interesting and relevant is that this southern wheel also takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds to revolve. We just don't know all the answers to the luminary's mysterium. The precession of the equinox is a real phenomena. Over 26,000 years, the whole blanket of stars completes a tiny wobble, ensuring that the exact point above the north celestial pole moves in a small, super slow circle. This is all known as the Great Year. If we go as north as possible on Earth and look up with the equatorial grid on, Polaris is at the centre. Now if we turn the azimuthal grid on, we can see Polaris off-centre, and if we change the year by 2,000 year chunks, the whole blanket of stars moves ever so slightly. The Earth isn't moving or tilting or wobbling, it's the blanket of stars moving. This movement in the sky is very slow, 1 degree every 72 years, so 360 degrees, a full revolution, every 26,000 years. The motion of the stars is like this. The zodiac signs move in one direction on the ecliptic, but the wobble is in reverse, hence the words precession of the equinox. So recently, from the age of Taurus, through to Aries, through to the current age of Pisces, and soon into the age of Aquarius. On every spring equinox, the sunrise to the east has the current age behind it, and we are coming out of Pisces into Aquarius. And due to the 1 degree wobble every 72 years, every 2,160 years or so, humanity enters a new age. Here is the equinox sunrise for the year 4178, deep into the age of Aquarius. So the sun goes slowly through all 12 signs in reverse on the spring equinoxes, before completing the Great Year, the precession of the equinox. This new age of Aquarius is arriving within the next 200 years or so. Aquarius is open-minded, inventive, intellectual, reformative, and adventurous. It is also unpredictable, defiant, unemotional, and rebellious. It focuses more on the group than the singular. The current system in illusory Pisces is already in its dying days before this new age ushers in. Moving on, the astrolabe is a beautiful and intelligent device, and can be traced back to around 200 BC. It has many uses, such as the sun's path and the time of day. It's made up of 4 plates and a ruler, and together each part has specific uses for measuring, observing, and calculating. The device can be used for star locations, cardinal directions, wandering star positions, sunrise and sunsets, eclipses, and so much more. And this still works today. No
an entirely different kind of flying altogether.
It's an entirely different kind of flying.
I don't know.
Those documents, when I opened them up, very clearly stated that for all intensive purposes, for aerodynamics, we assume that the Earth is both flat and non-rotating.
So 29 years of experience, both fixed wing and helicopter.
That's right.
Commercially, personally, etc. And I guess going back to your original training, obviously that maybe did not, that fact that you find in the instruction manuals, right, when you're in day one, right, of starting to simulate what it's going to be like when you're actually, engaging in air travel as a pilot. From day one, you're to assume, as you're training, that the Earth is flat and non-rotating. But it didn't strike you 29 years ago, did it?
No, and from most of my working brothers and sisters in the fixed and rotary field, they don't register that part. The irony of that is that when we take this assumption from our training manuals, which says that the Earth is flat and non-rotating, there's no second manual that now covers, now how do we deal with that, with the Coriolis effect and 1,000 kilometre an hour spin, yada yada, all the nonsense that we've heard. There's no transition to the real world of a spinning globe. So we remain with the so-called assumption that the Earth is flat and non-rotating. And when I'm planning a flight from one side of Earth, whether it be from Brisbane, Australia to New York in the States, I don't make any plans for the adjusting of the additional radius of the Earth, and when I'm flying at 40,000 feet. And if you look on a ball, the straight line between Sydney to New York, we'd almost be, or Brisbane to New York, we'd almost be overflying Hawaii. And yet, ironically, when I punch in the coordinates and I put in a flight plan for that flight to New York, we fly over Alaska, which would entail a massive dogleg, and I want to fly the shortest distance possible. I've done many flights between Sydney and Perth back to Sydney, and it's approximately a 3,000 kilometre distance. Our Gulfstream flies at approximately 1,000 kilometres an hour, 960, 980 kilometres an hour. So it's a 3-hour flight. Now, if you were to calculate in the 8 inches per square mile that we're supposed to be having, it would roughly add around 900 kilometres to that sector. So...
Oh, I see what you mean. The extra distance, because you're not flying over a flat plane. Or
that's right.
Assuming, we're told we're not flying over a flat plane, so you've got more distance to go around a sphere.
That's correct.
But you don't plan for that in your flight plan.
Never have. Never have.
And the amount of fuel that you need, even adjusting for going into the wind or with the wind, and so those sort of things, which obviously are going to affect your fuel consumption or your mileage, right?
Absolutely. And we have the jet streams, so that flying in one direction is always slower than another direction, because the jet streams are pretty much the same speed and direction throughout the year. The speed changes somewhat. The jet streams come down and increase in certain parts of the year. However, they're always going at the same speed. In the same direction. So it's always slower to fly from east to west than it is from west to east. Nothing to do with the Coriolis effect. That's just the ground speed related to the prevailing winds. But the higher you would fly, you are adding additional radius to a ball if you were flying around a ball. And our Gulfstream only flies at around 1,000 kilometres an hour, so we can't fly fast enough to cover that distance in 3 hours. So how do we cover that extra distance? There isn't extra distance because there isn't extra radius. It's flat. And all the instruments on board both a helicopter and an aeroplane, the artificial horizon, which keeps us upright, straight and level, and helps us conduct a coordinated turn, can only work on a stationary flat plane.
I don't know if it's flat around until we see a picture from space.
You're saying this bitch could be square.
I don't know what it is. It could be round. It could be way. It could be round.
iPhone
way
HD
bigger.
camera
with fish-eyed lens. You guys are fooled by the fish-eyed lens. Come on, man. Come on. There's plenty of pictures without the fish-eyed lens that you could find. This fish-eyed lens, you guys are getting fooled by some basic-ass kindergarten.
Do you understand perspective? Do you know that if that high, if you didn't have a fisheye lens, you're looking at this tiny fraction of the surface. The reason why
fisheye lens off.
Eddie, they do.
This is from 1946.
How do you know that's real?
Could be fake.
Because it's a picture?
I read it on the internet. That's why I know it's real.
I don't know. How do you know it's real? You're a photographer.
You could show
it.
I'm going hard on it now.
I could do a selfie from space like this, and
would you? That's real. Would you? That's real.
Yes,
would you be open? Okay, that's real too.
Eddie, would you be open to talking?
I don't care if you believe that's real. I don't care.
Would you be into talking to an actual astrophysicist?
Yes, I would love to.
Like, what would you do if Neil deGrasse Tyson was here? Would
I would have questions for him.
These same arguments?
I would have some questions.
But would you listen to him? Like, if he told you some shit that actually made sense? Or would you just think he's a part who's getting paid off by the Round Earth Society?
I think he's, there's people that they push to be their spokespeople.
I'm speaking of, and what proofs do I have? And the first thing that you need to know about the firmament is that it's been mentioned in the creation story as the expanse that divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And I had read that many times, never understood what it meant, or that there was any proof of it, and just kind of pictured that being maybe where clouds were kept in deep space. And that is partly true. There is different levels to the firmaments, but the firmament was also mentioned during the Great Flood, when the floodgates were opened and water came pouring down onto Earth. That did happen. Earth was flooded, and for a good reason. And that's an important long story and the world pretty much started over from that point. And a lot of people thought, well, that's when the firmament went away, was the floodgates were opened, and all of that happened. However, that's not what happened, and there is proof, and we're going to first look at the proof of these rockets that we have all watched go up into the air and seemingly appear to go straight back down to Earth in a rainbow flight path. And people say it is perspective. But luckily, we have pictures of these flight paths from the side view, and you can see that unless the Earth is really tiny, these aren't flying with the curvature of the Earth. They are flying out into the ocean, or as some have joked about, the Bermuda Triangle, where all the witnesses vanish. And you'll see here that we do understand how orbital mechanics work. That you're supposed to go 10 times faster than a bullet to get into orbit. Traveling and doing some weird things like we've seen rockets do before at night. And it's very mysterious. And there's really no explaining exactly what we're seeing. But we do know that this thing is doing something weird. And I was looking at it and watching it and going, well, it doesn't look like it hit the firmament. And then, to my surprise, I seen some ripples, and you're about to see them move across what appears to be the firmament. And there they go. These ripples look just like ripples you've seen on water, but this is really, really far away. These are giant.
Now the most interesting part is that the name of the operation chosen to identify this wall was Operation High Jump, and I'm pretty sure you've heard about it many times. The name Operation High Jump was given exactly because all they had to do was jump over a humongous wall, one that no man had ever jumped before, not that we know of. But as we all know the results, operation failed within 2 months and they came running back with tales of the sea. At first, Admiral Byrd was not taken so seriously by the media and such, and by what I understand, after other operations he was locked away. He spoke too much of the subject and was considered dangerous to the continuing operations and recon missions.
But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Let's freeze a little bit here and try and understand the implications of all of this. Having a wall that separates us would implicate we would need an agency that controls who gets in and out. Also, one of these agencies would have to control what the people know of this wall, like NASA and TGI pigs. So does this ring a bell? NSA, CIA, NASA, are we domed? Are we a menace to the universe? And have we been quarantined? Are questions that start popping up like crazy, and they are indeed good questions. At the same time, this is all just a theory, but one that has many background versions to it. One of the most interesting facts about the so-called wall is that the fact that we can check live GPS plane tracking right now, and if you do that and we transform it into a flat earth model, you can put it into another perspective and visualize the fact that the planes, they avoid the Antarctic ring, and not only that, they never cross it, ever. Another thing that also helps us put things into perspective is checking wind and ocean patterns on a globe model, and then doing the same thing on a flat earth model, and boom, NASA and gravity starts crumbling down. So one might ask, why did they lie? The answer is very simple, but it hurts like a sting. When Columbus tried warning others that America and other continents might exist, authorities at the time denied its existence and permission to sail away. Eventually, Columbus got permission to sail overseas, and that was the beginning of a new age. Though Chinese and Vikings had already reached the Americas, these were uncharted continents to the Europeans. But then again, why lie? Now, if we take a look at some of the maps we have, you'll see Antarctica was separated in two pieces in one of these maps, which begs us the question, how did they know? You know, how does a map from such a distant time have iceless Antarctica depicted on it? Question number 2. Could these two pieces be Lemuria and Atlantis? These are questions that actually, raise more questions, like what's on the other side? If there is a wall and Operation High Jump was all about going over it, then what is on the other side?
There are most likely several cultures that have been genocided and buried in time that we are unaware of that believed the same thing. Or knew, rather. These are just the ones we know about. The Sumerians' mythology says that a primeval sea existed before anything else and that the heaven and the earth were formed within it. The boundary between the primeval sea and the earth, a flat disk, was a solid vault, within which was a gas-like atmosphere. The stars, planets, sun, and moon were embedded in this solid vault. The Greek philosopher Anaximenes described the heavens as like a felt cap that turned on its head, with the stars fixed to the surface like nails. Flavius Josephus wrote about the earth being surrounded by a crystalline firmament. After this, on the second day, he placed the heaven over the whole world and separated it from the other parts, and he determined it should stand by itself. He also placed a crystalline firmament around it, and put it together in a manner agreeable to the earth, and fitted it for giving moisture and rain, and affording the advantage of dews. That's from the book Antiquities of the Jews. The people from all regions of earth knew what this place looked like and the nature of things within. It's not only the Bible that supports this information, but it certainly does. Genesis 1:6-8 says, "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven." Job 37:18 says, "Can you, with him, spread out the skies, strong as a molten mirror?" Sounds like a solid structure to me. Amos 9:6, "The one who builds his upper chambers in the heavens, and has founded his vaulted dome over the earth, he who calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth, the Lord is his name, and has founded his vaulted dome over the earth." There's really no other way to interpret that. The Quran supports flat earth. Let's read a little passage here. "Who made the earth for you a carpet, and the sky a structure, and sent down from the sky water, then brought forth thereby some fruits as provision for you. So make not equals to God, and you know." 2:22 from the Quran. And on with the ancient writings and texts that you can still find. There have been things that have been deleted and erased from history. Everything up until the 1500s when the Jesuits began pushing heliocentrism. This isn't just some primitive idiocy where the ancients were too stupid to figure out that the earth was a spinning ball. They had it down packed, and it was the truth then, and it's the truth now. It's the reason why NASA had to pretend like they lost the technology to supposedly go back to the moon.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
And why they always say that they can't leave low Earth orbit.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
But this movie holds the same deception that we are taught in schools, of course. The idea here is that what if everything is artificially made? Here's a guy painting the rocks. A guy filling up the ocean? Ridiculous sounding, yeah, and I don't want to believe that, but it makes things much more like the Truman Show if that is the case. Regardless if the sun is fake or not, or if there is a fake sun up there somewhere, we know that the sun is local, as depicted in the ancient cosmologies. It's here within the dome. You can trace the rays of the sun to its source to see that it's close. If it was 93 million miles away, you wouldn't be able to do this. And the moon is at a similar distance. Okay, it's not 238,000 miles away. 5 years ago, I would have thought someone that is saying these things that I am saying now would belong in an insane asylum. After years of research, it's become painfully obvious that this is all too real. Anyway, The Truman Show is very telling, and it's funny how the logo for The Truman Show has the NASA blue marble in it. Gives away the fact that the false spinning globe model is merely a prison for your mind.